Hey everybody, welcome on back. It's the Rubbin is Racing podcast with Spider, Large, and Quigs. We also have a voice of God. His name is Travis. Perhaps Justin is, so you're going to hear him correct us every now and again. And we also have Manoli on the ones and twos. Welcome back, everybody, after an exciting weekend last weekend. Rubbin is Racing is brought to you by what I have right here, Cabo Wabo Tequila. It's unquestionably Mexican tequila with an undeniably American attitude. And it isn't just tequila, people. It's damn good, thick-cut, 100% Blue Weber agave tequila. Cabo Wabo Tequila is the official tequila partner of NASCAR. You can add a bold splash to race day watching with Cabo Wabo Tequila. If you're heading down to Martinsville this Sunday, come celebrate race day with Cabo Wabo. And they want to remind you to leave the driving to the professionals this weekend. But please enjoy the thick-cut, bold taste of Cabo Wabo Tequila responsibly. You can grab your buds and a bottle of Cabo Wabo Tequila for the boldest race day experience, but you have to be 21 years or older to handle this. Go make yourself a smoke show and enjoy the races this weekend. Thank you, Cabo Wabo, for being on board. How's everybody doing? How's everything out in Chicago? I should start off by saying we had Shane Van Giesenberg in the office in Chicago. He did a couple of shows, including a sit-down with Spider and I, and so we're going to play that in a little bit. One of my favorite guys, who I just don't trust. That's coming up midway through the show. But otherwise, we're heading out to Martinsville this weekend. Spider, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Shout out Denny Hamlin for putting the cherry on top of a beautiful weekend. Yeah, I mean, he kind of backed into it. I'll be the first to tell you. Thought that race was going to finish green. Unfortunately, BUBBA with the caution there late, and BUBBA, Kyle, whoever you want to call it, we got another restart, and Denny pulled it out. And people, I mean, I posted the ticket, and I don't expect people to, like, necessarily care about other people's bets unless you're riding with them. Right. Well, people were acting as if I'm, like, race control. They're like, oh, that was, like, you must have known that BUBBA was going to crash with two like, come on, guys. I'm just happy celebrating a win, and that's all that this is about. So hopefully we can stay hot. That's now 2 winners through 7 Cup races this season. Pretty good clip so far, so I'm encouraged, and hopefully we can stay hot.
But we are not a gambling advice show. I'm going to mention that from the top, but we're having some fun with it, and Spider's on a little bit of a heater. And if you didn't tune in last week, shame on you, but the first person in the over-under category Spider gave an over to was himself.
Yep.
Which
and then I stood on business and answered, so.
Damn right. Yeah, you came back. I was down on vacation with the family last week. Manoli did a good job of making it seem like I wasn't in a wind tunnel the whole time. I will say, while I was down in the Bahamas, I ran into our old friend Clint Boyer. So he was down there with his whole family. He's got 2 beautiful young children, and his wife is a smoke show. I don't know what she sees in him because he's weird looking. It looks like his head was chewed by a dinosaur, to be quite honest with you. But I got to see Clint for a little bit, and so he gives his best regards to you, Spider, by the way. He made sure.
So what was his vacation, like Monday to Thursday?
Yeah, I think, no, I was with him he was leaving Friday. So he was going straight to, I had said to him, I'll see you in Martinsville. And he was like, no, Richmond. And I was like, no, that's you going to Richmond. I get the week off. But yeah, so we'll see him this weekend in Martinsville, but it was kind of cool to see Clint and the family.
How did you, like, see it? Was this, like, by the pool, or, like, how did this transpire?
In a restaurant.
Oh, okay.
So one of the restaurants, and so I was walking by, I saw him, and he was like, hey, Large, definitely, I got to bust his chops. I said to his wife, I was like, one of the reasons I do this podcast is because the host that was before me did such a terrible job that they decided to bring me in, the whole deal, and he was like, no, Presidente fired me, and so he's just a good guy.
He said hi to you.
No, I think I said hi to him. I think I fanboyed him because he was with his family.
I love it. Either way, that's awesome that you guys got to see each other, especially at Bahamas of all places.
The last time we saw him, Spider, and I'll get to the show in a sec, is when we were on the truck in Talladega.
Yep.
And for some reason, he was asking about the race, but there was also a big fight that night. And he remember he asked me about how I felt, and I thought he was talking about the fight. And I was talking about how this guy's rangy and stuff. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, oh, I like Brett K. He's like, oh, me too. Like, thank God I fucking pulled Brett K out of my ass. Before we get going, so we get DMs, obviously, as you guys know. You know that I'm a historian. I love I love everything that I've learned with NASCAR so far. I just made a point to watch this girls' basketball game. I don't have to care about this shit anymore after LSU lost to Iowa. But the girls' team, LSU, they didn't come out, or they went back into the locker room before the national anthem. And then Mulkey, the coach, had said that's their routine, and so they didn't know what was going on and all that shit. And all I could think about the whole time is our experience every time the national anthem is played at NASCAR events. Is there a time you feel any more patriotic than that time when the fucking planes come over, Spider?
Only at the Coke 600, because that's the greatest, most patriotic event. But again, that's a NASCAR event, so that's kind of a cop-out answer.
No, I think especially at the 600, because you see like those fallen heroes, you know, their names written on the car doors, and if the families, the widows and orphans, happen to be there, they then come to the winner's circle with the winner of the race, whoever they are. I mean, it's the only people who don't stand for the anthem at fucking NASCAR events are people who are too drunk to stand. That's the way that it is. And the rest of these fucking people are douchebags. And I don't know if it was a mistake or anything, but I think she should have shown more contrition. That's my 2 cents on this bitch not taking a team out to fucking stand up for the national anthem. But whatever, we'll get past that. But keeping in line with that, it's one of the things that I like about NASCAR. And I also like learning about legends of NASCAR. So one of the guys, have you met? Do you remember my friend Tanner? We met him in Michigan.
Absolutely.
The Vanilla Gorilla. Yeah, big ugly guy. His wife is very pretty. I don't know why she's with him, to be quite honest with you. But he's the big guy from
We're
Wisconsin.
casting a lot of judgment today, Large.
Oh, yeah. But I don't give a
Clint's
shit. I'm not a
ugly.
good-looking guy.
Tanner's ugly.
Yeah. You know, SVG's a little weird looking, too, before he comes out. Just to fucking people
he's
know.
a good-looking guy.
But, yeah, he is strikingly handsome. So, Tanner is a farmer in Wisconsin, and he'd hit me. This is one of the DMs I got from Tanner. He wanted to make sure I knew about this guy, BUBBA Pollard, and I did not. So he gave me some background on BUBBA Pollard, and I'm going to kind of explain why. He's 37 years old, looks like Fred Flintstone, has like that constant 5 o'clock shadow, big fucking head on him, head like a Rottweiler. One of the very best super late model asphalt racers of all time. Turned down countless opportunities to run average to bad equipment in big NASCAR to hunt late model trophies instead. He's from Georgia, this is all from Tanner, and has won all over the South, the Mid-Atlantic, and even the Midwest, and it's been historically very difficult for Southerners to come and win big races in Wisconsin, where Tanner's from, in the Midwest. He's the guy every big-time racer says should get a big break based off talent, and he finally got his shot this weekend driving the number 88 Rheem Chevrolet for JR Motorsports in the Xfinity race on Saturday. His family owns an excavation company, so he's running backhoes during the week, then dominating short tracks on the weekend. He's the only Southerner who comes up to Wisconsin and can hold his own on the track and then in the bar, which is the highest compliment that Tanner can pay any racer. I figured somebody's got to give you background on him because his run today should be celebrated way bigger than it currently is. He finished P6 in his Xfinity debut after starting 37th. He's like the Beatles when it comes to short track racing. Wiki has him as one of the most successful, active, super late model drivers, winning the All-American 400, the Rattler 250, and the winner of the Rattler 250, like Martinsville has the cheesy clock. When you win the Rattler 250, they put a fucking rattlesnake over your shoulders. It's awesome. A live snake. So he won that. The World Crown 300 and 2014 Super Series Championship. He has his own merch hauler, which sells out on any short track he goes to. And then he closes by saying, it's unlike anything I've ever seen before. He comes and camps with us peasants when he comes to La Crosse Oktoberfest, drinks until the early AM, but then he's out in the pits come 8 o'clock in the morning, wrenching on his own shit. So apparently, he's kind of working on his own car. Just an all-around good dude. And then him and Parker Kligerman got into it a little bit, but they talk like gentlemen after the race. And we know Parker, right? Like, Parker is not a big, tough guy. And when he was coming over, it looked like the anti-Kyle Busch, Chris Bell thing. Like, Parker seemed like a kid coming over to yell at his dad, but they seemed like they handled it like gentlemen. And that's lucky for fucking Parker, because I looked, and on August 3rd, 2019, Pollard and Matt Craig battled for a win in the Cars Tour race at Hickory Speedway in Hickory, North Carolina. Historic short track down in North Carolina. Craig won the race, and while Pollard was parking his car on pit road after the race. Craig's dad flipped him the fucking bird. And so Pollard went over and knocked the motherfucker out. Knocked this guy's dad out. And then Pollard got out of his car. Excuse me. Then this guy, Craig, got out of his car and said, "What did you do?" And he's like, "I just knocked your dad out." You got to see this thing on YouTube. And the guy's like, "Why'd you do that?" He's like, "Oh, he flipped me the bird." And so Craig was like, "Oh, okay, I understand." Knocked his dad out. And then he put a hand on him and said, "Don't ever do that again." And Pollard said, "Get your fucking hand off me or I'm going to knock you out too." This guy is a G. Absolute G, right? So Noah Gragson posted a picture of him and Bubba Pollard next to Pollard's car before Saturday's race saying, "Excited to watch my hero in his Xfinity debut. Go get him, Redneck Jesus." Holy shit. I immediately went in and bought a fucking shirt. So I'm hoping within the next couple of days, I'll have the Redneck Jesus t-shirt. I believe it's a nickname Noah gave him. I reached out to Grags, and he's like, "Large, this guy's an absolute goat." So in case you missed it on this otherwise eventful race weekend, this guy Bubba Pollard decided to, get his shot in the Xfinity race. And like I said, he came through. He he's qualified very poorly, came through the pack, starting 37th, finished P6, better than anyone would have expected. They were kind of comparing him to Josh Berry's debut in the Xfinity, and the guy's an absolute stud. I can't wait to see more of him. Everybody should know fucking about him, and now you're all better people because of it.
Yeah, that guy sounds awesome.
Yeah, guys. So Moonhead, this guy is a fucking legitimate guy, right? This isn't any kind of bullshit. Okay. Excellent. All right, so headlines. An update on Chris Bell versus Kyle Busch. They spoke on the phone after COTA and were asked about their phone call at Richmond. And Bell said, "We don't have a lot of run-ins, but the 2 times that we've had run-ins, he's been on the losing side of it. Kyle Busch been on the losing side of it. So I'll just race him with respect, as I've always tried to do, and it is what it is." So that's how Chris Bell had put it. And this is what Kyle Busch said in return. And Kyle says he expects to compete against Bell with a slightly different approach for now. "I'm going to run him harder for a little bit until he concedes that he's sorry on the racetrack, and then we'll get back to normal." So Kyle Busch still being the dad in this situation. So I don't think this is over just yet. I was hoping to see more shit last week, and I didn't get to see it, but that's not done. And then right from there, let's get to the race weekend. Let's talk about the race weekend. And this recap is brought to you by BetterHelp. It's easy to ignore our social battery and spread ourselves thin, especially with social gatherings picking up after the winter. What's the right amount of socializing for you? How do you recharge? Maybe you thrive around people, or maybe you need some more time alone. Therapy can give you the self-awareness to build a social life that doesn't drain your battery. I've only used therapy one time in my life. It was after 9/11, and it was life-changing. Probably saved my marriage. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched up with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/racing today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/racing for 10% off your first month. If you're looking to talk to somebody, I think it's going to help you out immensely. Go to BetterHelp.com and use the code RACING, get 10% off your first month, and it's going to be good for what ails you. All right, so I'll mention 2 more things from the Xfinity race on Saturday. We already talked about Bubba Pollard. First of all, congratulations to Chandler for his second win. Oh, no, his second year in a row winning, and also his second win of the season. And in the Xfinity Series standing, Chandler Smith is now in first place, 10 points ahead of Austin Hill. But most importantly, from this Xfinity race, after all this shit is going on, Joey Gase narrowly edged out Martin Truex for the angriest guy on the track this weekend when he threw his rear bumper at Dawson Cram. It didn't damage Cram's car, and he was able to continue racing. And ironically, the bumper that he did throw at him had McGruff, the crime dog, race against crime advertised on it, which is irony to the highest degree. But the drivers, both of them now, are selling T-shirts on their respective websites. Cram, the guy who got hit with the bumper, his T-shirt says, "Sometimes you're the bumper and sometimes you're the windshield." And Gase's says, "Enjoy your souvenir." How'd you guys feel about that? How'd you feel about that overreaction? A little bit of a fucking hothead move by Joey Gase. What you think?
No, I don't think it was an overreaction. I think I loved it. I mean, a great just TV moment. Like, that was one where watching in the cave, and there's like, you see it in the corner, and people are like, what is that? What just happened? Yeah, I think it's a great highlight. I mean, like, NASCAR themselves were tweeting it off their main brand accounts. And I saw people, not to be like that guy that's just like the comment section, but people were like, how are you going to promote this but also penalize it? I'm team promote the hell out of it. You know, I'm not in the business of telling NASCAR how to penalize their guys, but I kind of see where those people are coming from. But it was a great highlight. It's a great reaction. I understand people are going to get pissed. Like, that's kind of what makes NASCAR great, is seeing people fight, argue, shit talk after the race. That's one of the reasons why people love BUBBA POLLARD, as you just mentioned, Large. So it's no different. And I think, I don't know. I think more of it.
It was just funny more than anything. I don't think you'll really be mad. Even if you're a fan of, like, either of the guys, I don't think you can be mad. It's just a funny moment that, I don't know, you look kind of dumb doing it, like you're throwing a bumper, and it's
You think he
nothing.
regrets it?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a good way to get your name out there and kind of just be involved in a race that you weren't otherwise very involved in. But yeah, it's funny.
He's you know, he races for a small shop, so wrecking a car obviously hits them right in a wallet. So he went a little bit overboard on it. I mean, it is over, like, stepping out onto a track where there's moving cars, under caution, where they're going in the 40s, but still, and then throwing something like a bumper where you don't know how it's going to careen off a fucking windshield or anything. So we were taping on Tuesday afternoon again, so we don't know. NASCAR has to penalize him, though, right? They have to, probably a monetary fine at least, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be penalized. I mean, maybe that explains why they're both selling T-shirts, but I don't know.
I think both T-shirts, they're going to charities. Yeah, so, which is kind of cool that they're making some lemonade out of this.
Yeah.
So maybe NASCAR will take all that in consideration and kind of give the kid a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, I feel like the suspension, or not the suspension, but like the fine would almost be more for just getting out of your car, being on the track than, I don't know, that was never going to do much damage.
If they're going to be penalized, like, NASCAR should penalize whichever one it was that got out of the car. Was it Dawson that threw the bumper? Or Joey Gase threw the bumper?
Yeah. At Cram,
he should be, like, penalized for getting out of the track, going out on an active track. That, to me, as you said, Large, is a horrible idea. But the bumper itself, the throw itself, that's kind of, like, unprecedented. Aside from, like, I mean, we see helmets and shit thrown, but
yeah,
I don't know. That shouldn't be penalized as much, especially like those people say if they're gonna post it and, you know.
I guess you also probably don't want a big precedent of, like, it's okay to throw parts of the car, but yeah, I don't know.
So they might be at a precedent where it's okay to throw parts of the car and it's okay to jump the restart as long as there's only like 2 laps left.
True.
Like, that's something that
the drivers don't do them any favors. I'll tell you what, the drivers put NASCAR in a tough position week after week with just having to, you know, either look bad or look like they missed officiating calls. But I mean, I think they do a good job, all things considered.
No, I think so. And we'll talk about the Denny thing in a second. I didn't buy either of those two T-shirts because I already got the Redneck Jesus, and then I bought a hoodie, and I'm going to talk about that in 1 second because I think it was Moonhead who had caught that woman in the crowd with the camera had panned on her.
Oh, that
beer, guns, freedom, something
NASCAR.
Else. NASCAR.
Right away, I got it. It's 3XL, so it's coming. All right, guys, just a quick update while I'm stuck in traffic. We record this podcast on Tuesday morning, and since then, NASCAR did announce that they're fining Joey Gase $5,000 for breaking safety protocol. And that's a lot of money for a guy like Joey Gase. All right, that's it. Back to Rubbin is Racing. On to Sunday. Larson and Elliott start in the front row. Chase's best starting position, P2, in over a year. It's good for him. We start the race with rain tires. It was not pissing rain there, but the rain had stopped. They decided to, instead of getting the track fully dry, they would start with rain tires, have a couple of non-competitive pits and whatnot. I thought the racing was so great with those rain tires on. It was kind of nice to see all that grip, and I almost wish they could have kept them on for another 30 or 40 laps. I think they had 4 sets of them in the pits or whatever. But again, this is NASCAR having to pivot and make these decisions on the fly. You know, perhaps they made the right one, There's a lot of stuff going on in the caution that was going on while they were changing the tires, but still. First stage saw Josh Berry climbing through traffic. Then he got into the 99 to end stage 1 under caution. Josh Berry taking out Kobayashi last week. Then he goes after a Mexican this week. I don't know. Just keep that in the back of your head. Keep it in the back of your head. Josh Berry does not like international drivers. You heard it here first. Larson wins stage 1. Truex wins stage 2. It was his first stage win of the season, which surprised me because he's a points leader coming into Richmond, and he still is the point leader afterwards. But it was Denny. It was Denny Hamlin, his 53rd career win. He's now 1 win shy of tying Lee Petty for the 12th in the all-time wins column. It's also his 2nd win this season. It's his 5th at Richmond, 3rd win this season if you count the Clash. It's his 5th at Richmond, and even though he only led 16 laps, whereas Truex led like 230, and Larson also led like over 100. All credit was given to his pit crew, particularly on that last pit, which took him from P3 to the leader. And by coincidence, the crew was highlighted in the broadcast. Like every week, it seems now that Fox is going into the pits and showing like a pit crew. They went in and talked to Denny's guys, a couple of them who are familiar faces to us. And then coincidentally, after the race had run, they ran a Mavis commercial, and the Mavis commercial was all about Denny's pit guys. Like they were going to work on his car, his personal car. He's like, no, guys, this is for my family. You work on the 11. I'm leaving this up to Mavis. But the whole pit crew got in. So it was a really good day for Denny's pit guys. They got a lot of well-deserved recognition, so good for him. And my highlight from the broadcast that we had mentioned is that the camera panned into the crowd, and there's a mom. I think she's watching 4 kids. They all look like they were under the age of 6, and she had a sweatshirt on that said beer, guns, NASCAR, and freedom. So I immediately dialed that shit up, and I bought one. It should be here within a week.
Those are like the pre-made like Facebook like AI shirts that
yes,
they just like automatically can tell your interests, and they make you a shirt. Like I'm an uncle of a 4-year-old boy who loves watching soccer. Like those shirts. It was very surprised you were even able to buy it.
And I don't even think it's that well made. Kind of has that generic black and white American flag scheme behind it. You know what I mean? Like pry my gun for my dead cold hands. But I got one anyway. We had some smoke this week. We had Larson versus Bubba Wallace, but then Bubba came out because that caused the late race caution, which obviously wound up fucking Martin Truex. Bubba did come over and apologize to Larson, talked about how karma is a bitch to him because Larson somehow managed to recover, and he had a pretty good finish. I was going to ask you guys, what did you think of Bubba's paint scheme? The McDonald's fries thing.
Fire.
I thought it was fire. Yeah.
Bubba's,
do you not like it?
I didn't like it. I mean, I like the way that the golden arches went down onto the grill, like underneath Camry. Like I kind of like that. But I thought they could do more with the fries thing. I don't know what it was.
I think it's like I think it's like the perfect paint scheme.
Really?
It's like the fries shooting out of the bag as it. I don't know. That's kind of how.
Yeah,
I see
it adds like an element of like kind of speed, like almost like the flames or whatever on the side.
Right.
I don't know how you couldn't like that car.
I mean, I guess because it's a grand total of 4 colors, maybe. Like it just.
I think that's why I like it. It's so simple.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I mean, that's why, that's how they make markets, I guess.
Bubba's ran some really, really cool paint schemes, and I would say that this one is probably becoming one of the more memorable ones.
Yeah. Okay. So the only other smoke that I'm going to mention, and we're going to get into it bigger, but Truex versus the world. This is as mad as I've ever seen Martin Truex. Took it out on Kyle Larson. Took it out on Denny Hamlin right after the race was done. Truex was on tilt, as they say in the poker world. And then Denny yesterday on his Twitter account had trolled a little bit on April Fool's. I don't know if you've seen that, but he said, after looking at the tape, I realized I did jump the restart a little bit, so I'm going to do the right thing and wish everybody an April Fool's, happy April Fool's. But how do you think that team meeting went? How do you think that, Joe Gibbs Racing Monday meeting where Martin Truex, I think he showed up with like a 5 o'clock shadow and like just reeking of whiskey and sort of said, fuck you, Denny, and walked out? How do you think they handle that kind of smoke when they're teammates?
That's interesting. I mean, I watched this video of Joe Gibbs in the every time they win going into the shop, and then they're up on like a cat lift or whatever that thing, a sky lift, and they hang the banner, and then he comes down and the whole shop is watching over them, and then he says, all right, now back to work, and everyone goes and they get back to their stations and grind. It's like, I wonder where Martin Truex is in that meeting. Like, he's probably in the back, like, shaking his head with his fist, like, in a ball, upset. But, I mean, rightfully so. I would be upset. I mean, unfortunate caution there at the end. And, I mean, he just didn't. The restarts are always questionable, and unfortunately, Denny may or may not have jumped it. So
I would have a feeling that those meetings are always, like, semi-awkward. Like, for Joe Gibbs Racing. Like, that crew that they have together, I could just see there always being some sort of, not even like tension, but just like nobody gets along. Like just the personalities, I feel, on that, like all four of them don't really mix. I don't know.
It blew my mind last year when we were going into the playoffs, and Denny said that he would rather see Bubba make it than his own teammates.
Yeah.
And he had said it on our podcast. Then he said it, I don't even know if he said it on Actions Detrimental. He may have said it somewhere else. And then Joe Gibbs had like a talk with him about it. But Denny really is playing with the fucking casino's money. Like you had said in a text, Spider, how he probably won't be there. I know there was some talk about him eventually driving for 2311. So I don't know. Maybe he goes in there not giving a single fuck, into the team meeting like he's the boss.
I think that's how you have to be.
I mean, I can tell you Chris Bell doesn't.
Yeah.
Danny Hamlin's not going to win a championship being that guy that's like, hey, I hope my teammates' feelings are okay after this race. I don't know. To me, he's got to do exactly what he did. He's got to be cutthroat and seize opportunity before him, and that was exactly what we saw. I mean, he wasn't responsible for the caution. The caution occurred. He had a great pit stop, and he reaped the rewards of that.
Some people think, the conspiracy theorists think
that he told Bubba to spin.
Yeah, Bubba was doing the boss a favor.
I mean,
that's not. I don't think that happened.
So hear me out on that. What was it when Reddick was running down? Who was it? Christopher Bell earlier this year, Kyle Larson maybe, and Bubba gave him a push and helped him out. But he had a second opportunity in that race to get on his bumper, despite being a couple laps down, and help Reddick hopefully close the gap. And he didn't. So if they were truly corroborating, I think we would have seen it more.
And we would have heard it
definitively.
To Quiggs' point, the conspiracy theorists I had in my under category, because they said Bubba works with Denny, caused the caution on purpose. Wouldn't we have heard that? Wouldn't we have heard Freddie Kraft, friend of the show, Door Bumper Clear, second best podcast probably. Even if there's a code word, like the lion lays down in winter on the fire, we would have known that there was some sort of Morse code going on.
You could also just have an unwritten kind of pact, and then also I don't believe any of this, but you could just have a little handshake agreement, if you're ever out of the race, I'm kind of up there at the end. Maybe if you hit a slick spot on the track in the last couple laps, I wouldn't be mad.
I mean, I hear that, but at the same time, this early in the season, like a regular season race for pretty much nothing on the line, Denny already has a win on his belt. If they're gonna do that, don't you think they save that for dire time?
I don't believe this anyway. I'm just saying there is ways to orchestrate that without having to verbally say it on the mic at the time.
I would like to see those conspiracy theorists point to something that was either said on the radio on one of the channels, whether it be Bubba or Denny's channel, that may point to, an ambiguous meaning for, hey, cause a wreck here. Or, what do they call it? The SMI data of the actual...
SRT,
whatever it is,
SRT, something like that, yeah.
Whatever that acronym is, show me what was actually going on, the controls.
Yeah, no, I think.
But I could also see Booty Barker saying, let's compete for a top 5. Fuck Denny. Do you know what I'm saying? From Bubba's pit box and whatnot. I don't know how the hell that would work out, and it didn't work out well for Bubba at all. Right, because Larson was able to recover and he wasn't really able to.
Larson recovered like nothing. I was very surprised by that.
He was actually extremely happy with the P3. He was like, I don't know how that happened.
No, that's what I'm saying. I thought he was out of the race as soon as that wreck, and then he.
No, I mean in that the apology by Bubba, which was one of the nicer, more well done apologies I've ever seen.
I agree.
Like Larson was like, it actually benefited me because they went straight to the pits and I think he picked up 3 spots. So he was like, I actually advanced because of the wreck.
But there's no doubt that Denny was not winning that race without a caution.
No.
Right? So, I mean, I can understand the conspiracy theorists kind of being out. And then they'd said, NASCAR didn't penalize Denny for jumping the restart because they need his popularity to build for a season 2 of the Netflix special. It's fucking ridiculous. And then there's also the conspiracy theorists that say it's the Toyota 400, right? So it was fixed for, so a Hendrick Chevy or, a Penske Ford wouldn't win. But but there's also why wouldn't Truex have won? So
there was a. Oh wait, you can keep going. Sorry.
No. It just seems like there's a lot of the tinfoil hats out.
I love conspiracies.
Do you?
I do. Well, I don't think any of these really hold water, to be honest. But I'm all for them. I don't, and I want to reiterate, none of these seem real. Like,
there is one that I saw that I don't even know if it's a conspiracy, but it definitely holds more water. About like the restart. I don't know. You want me to go ahead and say that one?
Yeah, please.
So it was Spotter Brett posted it on the video. He thinks that, and it may almost be a fact, I don't know, but that the NASCAR officials, the feed that they were watching was just the broadcast feed, which didn't show, like the camera angle they used didn't show Denny's takeoff on the restart, and that's why it was never reviewed, because they didn't even witness it. They were just remote watching the live broadcast, which is crazy. Like, you have to have, if you're NASCAR officials, you have to have a couple angles up to see everything you're supposed to see.
Particularly in a restart zone, right? And particularly a week after you called 40 penalties at COTA, right? For not anything similar to what had happened to Denny Hamlin, but I'm saying if they're going to be so draconian at COTA and then all of a sudden say, we only saw what you guys saw, because I thought I had Fox as an under also for missing the restart and then not using that with the stuff they have on hand, that telemetry to either confirm or deny that Hamlin had jumped the restart. So if NASCAR was only seeing what I was seeing on my couch, that's disgraceful.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there should be something more, particularly at the end of the race. And I'm not saying whether or not they should have penalized. I mean, they penalized SVG after the race last week in COTA, right? Dropped them from 2nd to 27th. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is here. And then the statement from NASCAR at the end, they had said he very clearly jumped the restart. But it's something that we don't always call. We would have called it if it was lap 5, lap 50, lap 300.
That's what I get. What annoys me is that there's always like this rush to get off the air. And I know that's not a problem with NASCAR. That's more the TV networks themselves. But like if you're going to broadcast the whole race, you might as well stay on the air for like 5-10 minutes after, get a post interview with the driver, let the burnouts happen, like let the dust settle. For example, like it shouldn't, the NASCAR explanation was like, hey, it was a bang bang play, we needed to make a call, which I agree with. We don't want to have like a 40-minute, review, but at the same time, like take the time to do it right and figure out whether it was to say that it's the last lap, we can't review it to the furthest extent we would have on lap 5 or lap 20 is, to me, not valid excuse. Like it should always, especially the finish. And you look at how quick they were with something like the Suarez Blaney Kyle Busch finish, and they correctly had Daniel Suarez, correct or maybe not, depends who you ask, had Suarez winning that quickly. So
I think they just royally fucked it up. I think they never reviewed it. I think they genuinely didn't know that it was an issue until Truex had his interview and he's like, he jumped the hell out of that restart.
Yeah.
And then once you get to that point,
it's too late.
You can't review it when people are out of their cars giving interviews, and you just kind of have to go into damage control and pretend like you did stuff and have maybe opinions on it that aren't even real, but they go along with the fact that NASCAR did review it. I don't know. I think they just mess it up big time and are kind of in damage control.
I think, like, what's the alternative, though? Like, Denny wins. Like, he won the restart whether he jumped it or not. I mean, who's to say? A lot of people, like...
No, he did.
I mean, yeah. He
jumped the hell up.
He jumped it, but, like, what I'm saying is, like, to your point, like, the damage was done. The race was over, and they didn't really realize it. But, like, I think they do a pretty good job when the race comes down to a tough finish like that. Like, I've now won in 2 different kind of unusual, untraditional ways. Not to get back to me winning, but, like,
seems
Byron at Atlanta being called for rain when I had him outright, and then now this, and both of them seem kind of controversial, but at the same time, I don't know what NASCAR would do otherwise. So not to be that guy that's just, like, gaslighting them because it worked out in my favor. I truly believe that, like, there's no kind of alternative.
I mean, there is alternative. They didn't do it, but the alternative is you watch the restart. If you're a race official, that should jump out at you. It's like, he might have jumped that.
Again,
it jumped out to the booth because Clint Boyer had said over the broadcast, Denny jumped the restart. And no one could see what Clint would, but Clint and Kevin and Mike Joy have a bird's eye view, so maybe he wasn't looking on a thing. He was actually watching the race.
I'm saying the second they missed the jump, like once they're hearing it from Truex, like, or the other drivers, like, hey, they jumped, there's nothing that can be done. They did the best thing that they could. And
no, because they were like, I don't know, they were like lying about it and saying they reviewed it and saw nothing, and then they kind of, I guess, did they say that they did
exactly that? They did sound like hypocrites to a degree because Clint Boyer said NASCAR had looked at the restart and found nothing not out of the ordinary. He said some sort of thing about it not being reviewed. It being no whatever, how they pass inspection type shit. And then the comments a day later was after reviewing, we did see it, but it's something that we won't call. Now, what's the equivalent in other sports to what NASCAR did? Because this affected. Great. Listen, Denny has the right to control the restart, right? After that 9-second pit, a second better than 1.3 seconds better than Martin or something like that. So he has the right to control it, and I totally get that. But he did jump the restart. What's the equivalent of NASCAR letting that go? Is that a pass interference call that doesn't get seen? Is it a travel that lets go? Is it a foul that doesn't get called underneath the hoop at the end of the game because they're letting the boys play? Because
that's kind of what I see it as, is like just letting them play, and then unfortunately it played out, and they realized maybe they missed a call. And then in that point, they just, it was what it was. But at the same time, I mean, that's sports. How many games are decided by, a missed call or something like that late in the game, or something goes the wrong way, like, or how about a penalty that's unreviewable? Like, how many times has that occurred in a game that you've watched? Or
a terrible judge in boxing. Like, you know what I mean, who sits there and sees a different fight that everybody else had seen.
Exactly.
And there's robberies all the time. So this is a better question than maybe for you fellas. What do they do going forward? Because right now, if I'm a driver, I think that I'm allowed to cheat on restarts as long as it's in the second to last or last lap of the race, right? Yeah. If that's what they're going to do. Or do they say, listen, Denny got away with it, just like Ross got away with riding the wall, but no more. We're going to crack down on it. And did Denny, ruin it for everybody else? Like, because this has been the only headline. This is the biggest headline coming out of last week in Richmond, by far. What does NASCAR do going forward?
I think they just do more diligence, honestly. They watch closer. I don't think anything can be changed. Like, how this happens. This happens. How many times? This is the second race this year where there's been a lead change, like on the last lap or something. Like, we saw Suarez win unexpectedly. We saw Hamlin look dead in this race, and granted under different circumstances, but like, that's racing. Sometimes someone gets lucky there at the end and something happens. I don't think we need to do knee-jerk rule changes to rectify this.
This just sounds like somebody who's like trying to make sure they don't take his bet back.
No, you sound like someone who feels bad that Truex should.
Well,
get
I don't know.
All right, yeah, you had Truex.
Yeah,
I did.
I had Larson. You had Truex. And
you're
Spider
the mediator, Large, because you had like the P3 guy. So,
but
yeah,
I don't know.
I think I was lucky. Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, there's every restart gets jumped, kind of. At least that's what like drivers say. Like but there was like something different about this one where it was like egregious enough that it's kind of the first thing everybody's talking about when they get out of the car. They noticed it. They directly attributed to like why he won.
The NASCAR. Sorry.
I don't know if it's like what they need to do different. They need to just like not fuck it up this bad. If you reviewed that and you watched, there's the angle of Hamlin's like onboard cam, and it is like if they saw that within a minute of the race ending, Hamlin's not getting that win. So that they just didn't look at it.
right.
Like they just need to, if there's something that like to the trained eye of a NASCAR official looks pretty egregious, you have to look at all the angles. And if it's as egregious as it looked in real time, maybe you disqualified that win, or I don't know. They just messed it up big time, I feel like.
Is it a bigger deal because it's Denny Hamlin?
I think that,
Yeah.
It's got to be.
The tears and pain and anger is much louder because it's Denny, you know.
I mean, they mentioned 1,000 times it was his home course, right? His home track or whatever. So
they also mentioned what I was gonna say, Quigs, is like the head of NASCAR competition. Forgive me, I don't know his exact name or even his title. The guy who you quoted, Large.
Yeah.
I watched the interview with him, and he basically said like it's Denny's. The leaders jump restarts all the time, and like Denny earned the right to do so because he was in the position he was at that point. So part of me kind of remains stubborn on that opinion.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's a danger in judging it, like going forward, judging it too harshly and ruining some races when it's like, they've been jumping it to that extent for forever. And then there's also the danger of drivers are going to see that and be like, why would I not get a little bit of a head start? And it keeps snowballing until like these guys are just taking off whenever they want.
Also, hypothetically, let's say Denny does get penalized.
Yeah.
Let's say they take the win from him. Like we saw Pocono, didn't he finish? He finished a couple of years 1-2, and they just stripped him of the win or something. Let's say they gave the win. Well, actually, I don't even forget this hypothetical. Like, what? How do you think his reaction would have been if he lost the win?
Oh, if they would have penalized him on the spot. Because Denny is also, like I said, playing with the casino's money. I use that term when dealing with JGR. But since he already has his first win, like he can take chances like that. It changes the complexion of all these late race restarts because then P2 has to have his head on the swivel. Like Martin Truex will then never not try to jump the restart alongside the P1 driver again, right? If that's it. And then those two guys get penalized. And then Joey Logano's the winner. From that point there. I know it ended differently with Joey taking in P2. But I don't know. It's a slippery slope. And there's a lot of eyes on it this time.
Is there any semblance of NASCAR that was like, who's going to be more upset and more vocal about being robbed out of this? Denny Hamlin if we take the win, or Martin Truex if we allow Denny Hamlin to jump the restart? Poor Martin Truex, who's relatively soft-spoken and doesn't like, confrontation, just likes, kind of driving and racing. Finally, I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic to think about, but I think NASCAR did the right thing.
You know who was happy with the decision? That bitch Danica Patrick. Fuck her. Right?
Why was she?
Because she hates Truex.
Oh.
Yeah. What did you think about the night race? The Sunday night race with the rain delay and like Denny when he had his daughters come out, the little one's cute as a button. She came out in like footy pajamas. I mean, these girls are way up past their bedtime. What did you think about that Sunday night race?
I'll tell you what, I hated it Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. Waiting all Sunday for the race to start was kind of brutal. My brain was just on like, it's got to be any minute mode, and it just wasn't. once the race started, I kind of liked the fact that we had the primetime slot. It was kind of the main event of the evening. College basketball was out of the way at that point, and the sole focus was on NASCAR. So I kind of liked it, and I don't know. It's nice for a change when it feels like you're not really competing with other major sporting events.
Yeah, I needed it because I had my NC State boys playing, and I would have been paying very little attention. So that's probably why it was at that time slot. You can't try to compete with the NCAA tournament.
In a vacuum without the tournament, though, wouldn't you think it'd be better on Easter Sunday to have it kind of on in the background while everyone's enjoying some lamb?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like a 3 o'clock start. I don't know. It just seemed like it was a little bit late for me, but I'm very old. When we go in over-unders, which we're going to do right now, I want you guys to give Martin an over-under. Like, make sure you include him because I don't know. Martin Truex, Sunday made 6 times that Truex had led 100-plus laps at Richmond and didn't win. Do you think like he was overreacting with the way that he reacted towards Denny and Kyle Larson? So make sure you include him in the over-unders. But, I mean, obviously Denny gets all the overs in the world and his pit crew, gets to be on commercials and shit. But was there anything that jumped out at you guys as far as who had a great day, who had a shit day?
Yeah. I was really impressed with Joey Logano. I mean, he's been running poorly, and he wasn't on Sunday. He kind of
first top 5 of 2024.
Yeah, he looked really good, good. Really encouraged from what I saw with him. And on the flip side of that, Blaney finished P19, so I'm going to take the under on him. But other guys, Stuart Haas guys, Gregson, Josh Berry. Gregson P12, Barry P11. I gave Barry top 10. We missed it by one spot, so that was tough. But really encouraging race performance all throughout the race on Sunday, and I thought he was great. And then Noah Gregson, same thing. And Eric Jones, I got to show some love for legacy, P14. So those were the guys that jumped out for the overs for me.
Sad when P14 is an overperformer.
They're over.
He's such a hater, Spider. He's such a fucking hater.
If you're above your average, you're in the over.
I know.
100%.
I'm just saying it's a sad state for legacy. Yeah. Overs. I thought Truex had a great race. Got kind of fucked there, but I'll give him an over. Logano obviously got a better finish than normal. I thought Barry was great in the early stages of the race, and then final over. I'll go with the rain tires. Nice little element added to the race. And am I doing unders too?
I would say before you move on from that, I definitely give Chase Elliott an over.
Yeah.
Right? Because
did I mention him?
No, it was his best start.
I have him on my list.
Finish of the year with P5. So we gotta throw him in. And then I also, but just to give an over before you move on, Chris Bell again, right? So that's 4 straight top 10s for Chris Bell, and that's when he sped on the pits, but then battled back and finished 6th. So Chris Bell putting together, a nice little season. So you can go your unders right now, but I just want to throw those 2 in. Who do you guys see thought kind of shit the bed?
I'll start, and this one kind of pains me because this is a driver I like. It's Corey LaJoie, P36. It's just kind of running around the back all race, never had a chance. Kind of disappointing, and his teammates look to have a decent week, all things considered. So to see that from him as the veteran guy there was kind of unencouraging. Blaney at P19, I mentioned him earlier. Fords have been struggling. Logano answered and kind of shook that off, shook the slump. But Blaney kind of remained struggling. So
Spider, that's his 3rd straight finish outside of the top 10.
Yeah.
After a pretty good beginning, like follow through on the championship slump, you would think he's sort of started well. 3rd straight.
And I don't mean to discredit Blaney's last year championship performance at all, but he did not have he did not lead in wins. So
right.
I don't know. He kind of gets his bread and butter with strong top 10, top 5 positions, and we kind of haven't been seeing that. So a little bit concerned with Blaney. And then Truex, I'm putting in the under category. And I know, that may be controversial, especially based on what's happened. But as you said, Large, your stat is one that stuck with me as well, and just closing out the races is super important. Everyone gets critical of me on the over-under segment because I pretty much give these based off like wins and losses is how I judge these drivers, and I know this league is about more than winning races. You know, finishing position matters, but in my brain, I favor winning outright way more. So that's what it is. And then also on the under, right behind Blaney and P20 was Kyle Busch. He's another guy that's been struggling this year. So those are my unders. Kyle Busch hopefully can turn it around this coming week.
I have one mega under, first ever mega under.
Please.
For the officials. And not to keep crying about it. I won't go into the Denny thing too much, but my real gripe was I think they just didn't. They like almost forgot to review it. But they also had in the second stage, Kyle Busch kind of got loose, got into the wall, and they threw that caution way too early. It ended up messing up the one-stop pit strategies and basically made everybody go to the same pit strategy in the third stage and just took a lot of juice out of the race. And yeah, I think they did a lot of things that kind of made this race like a worse race, in my opinion.
Okay. All right, let's before we move on from last week's action, Spider and I were lucky enough to sit down with Shane Van Gisbergen, who was up in the Chicago office. So we were about to go 3 wide. Now, Gisbergen or Gisbergen?
Gisbergen.
Gisbergen. What's the worst that anyone's ever messed up your name, Shane?
Yeah, it's been a lot. Yeah,
Right?
Gisbergen, Cheesebergen, stuff like that. There's been some bad ones, but Shane is easy. That's fine.
Spider, Larry, I think McReynolds called you a Gisberger, and I wrote a letter to the fucking studio saying that they got to tighten it up. So 3-time Supercar champion, turned full-time Xfinity driver, winner of NASCAR's inaugural Chicago street race last year. He came in, and I have a couple of theories about what he's doing, trying to infiltrate the United States from the sports world, and then probably will run for president sometime. But I got to say, you've been a huge topic of conversation week in and week out on this podcast because your story is fascinating, and we love the fact that you carved out some time to visit us in Chicago. So thank you very much for doing it. I'm going to start, if that's okay with you, Spider. Shane,
Please.
Is it easier? Like, what's the deal? Like, you can come over here and just be successful. Or is it an SVG thing? Is it a Shane thing? Because, like, Kamui Kobayashi has not had the success that you had right off the bat. Like, what's the difference that you can come over here and be a disruptor? You can be someone who's successful right away. What's special about you? Or is it that our shit's just too easy?
No, it's definitely not easy, especially the oval stuff. That's been a huge challenge for me. I've never done anything like that before. So I've got a lot of learning to do there. But the street race is something I was familiar with. We do a bit of that where I was racing in Australia. So I was okay there. But, yeah, the road courses and the ovals, everyone here is at a really high level. So I got to learn and adapt and start stepping up.
You said it's your first time back in Chicago. Thank you so much for being in studio with us. What is your dynamic with the city of Chicago now? And I mean, obviously, has it become one of your favorite American cities?
Every time I'm here, it's raining. But yeah, it's a cool place. I'm not much of a city person. I prefer a bit more peace and quiet, but it's pretty impressive. Like, never seen really buildings like this before. It's pretty impressive.
So you would welcome rain again this year in Chicago for the street race?
No, it was crazy. I'd rather it was dry. Like before the race, there's tires and stuff floating down pit lane. It was really out of control.
Yeah, they kept showing that too on TV, and Spider and I were sitting there in $2 ponchos, basically, garbage bags with a hole cut out. And I couldn't believe that they got that race off. It's a credit to NASCAR that they were able to do it. And then plus having the headline of you taking home the checkered flag made for a very, made for a very photogenic and interesting story for their first time in Chicago. So I'm glad they're going to get a redo, and we're hoping for some better weather. Outside of these street courses and whatnot, are there a track outside of road courses, street courses, that you are starting to favor, whether it be the intermediate, the short tracks, anything other than street courses that you're saying, you know what, I think I got this better than some of the other ones?
We haven't done too much intermediate yet. They've all been sort of super speedways or short tracks. And then another short track this week at Martinsville.
Yep.
Looks pretty crazy. I haven't been there, but I'm liking the challenge of something different every week and then adapting to that and getting better. But the 1.5 mile intermediate tracks, they look pretty crazy. So I think the next one I do is Texas in 2 or 3 weeks. And that should be pretty cool to feel what that's like. And just the speed that they're doing, 300 Ks into the corners and 180 miles or whatever it is here. But it's the speed of it all is pretty impressive.
Is the sim work been helping you out a lot, or is it not until you actually get some rubber on the road to really feel like what you're doing?
It's good and bad. It gives you a visual and expectation what to feel like, but it's always different once you get in the car for real, and do those first couple of laps. You don't get the sense of speed in the sim or the fear factor, I guess. So, yeah.
You mentioned that it was difficult and challenging. What do you think the hardest test that you faced so far in NASCAR has been? Has it been on the Xfinity circuit? Has it been in the Cup level in one of those starts? What has it been?
Yeah, probably Daytona when you're doing, all in a pack. There's 30, 40 cars within a second or two, and you're just flat out at top speed. And if you're in the middle of the pack, and I thought it was a bit much for me, but you got to stay with it. You can't get out of it, and it's crazy. When the crashes happen, there's nothing you can do. You just pile in.
And that made for one of your 2 top 10s in the Xfinity series, and they're pretty much come on ovals. How hard has that adjustment been, and do you think it's encouraging? Like, are you proud of yourself that you can do it at all sorts of tracks, or did you think there would be a longer learning curve?
The results are definitely better than
expected.
Expected, yeah, or hoped to start with. I hope, top 20s then build up. But we've had some really good races. And then even on the weekend, we took a risk and it didn't pay off, but we still finished 14th or 15th. So it's been good. We've been more competitive than we thought we'd be. But certainly I got to keep getting better and stepping up. But compared to my teammates in the same cars, we're not doing too bad, which is cool.
So you do have expectations, and you're saying that you're exceeding them. Obviously, the win is something that's obviously exceeding expectations. Yeah. So does Justin sit down with you guys every week and kind of so how's that been? You essentially have a new boss now. How's the dynamic with those guys being in that that headquarters, which Spider and I haven't been able to get to just yet? If you fuck up, do you think you're going to get a call from Pitbull at any point? Like, what's been the dynamic with the people? Because like Trackhouse, all of a sudden does this Project 91 designed to expand the organization's global reach by fielding a Cup Series entry for renowned international racing drivers. That sounds great. It sounds great when you read about it on a brochure, but it must be a real pain in the ass, like kind of having a guy, your resume is impeccable. It's overwhelming. And then having a guy like you all of a sudden get up, come to the other side of the world, live in Charlotte of all places, and start to answer to a bunch of different people. So how's the dynamic been with those guys in particular? Yeah,
as you say, it's been a huge change or adjustment, but they haven't put too many pressures on me, I guess, for results. Just that's why I'm in the Xfinity Series this year, to learn for the Cup Series next year. And it's just all about learning, getting better, and doing it a little more under the radar in Xfinity, I guess. And yeah, a little less pressure, but it's, as I said, every week it's crazy, the difference in the tracks and the cars and how they handle. And then even when we did the road course, like the cars turn different left and right still. So they're pretty wild machines. And then driving the Cup cars the next day, they're a proper race car as well, designed kind of more for those kind of tracks. So I feel more comfortable in that. But yeah, they just wanted me to go out, get experience, try and get better every week. And I'm sure later in the year I'll have a bit more pressure to get results, especially on the oval stuff. But for now, it's just about adapting and fitting in.
So you mentioned the Cup aspirations. Is there a specific Cup timeline? You mentioned next year. Is that a done deal?
It's not a done deal yet, but that's kind of what I've been told, and that's why I've moved here, to be in the Cup Series.
Got it.
I think, this is a good way to learn. We were only meant to do 10 Xfinity races. Now we're doing the whole series. So
yeah.
It's a really good way to get experience.
Was there ever a certain specific, goals set by Justin Marks that you wanted to obtain for this season, or was it strictly about just getting reps and getting experience?
Yeah, just getting experience. I'm sure he's got something in mind that I need to achieve, but he hasn't let me know yet. But yeah, it's sort of just spiraled out of control from Chicago. After getting the win, we added a couple more races, and then, it was just meant to be 3 races or something, and then, yeah, it's just snowballed. Every week there seems to be more stuff.
I would like to think that a world exists where Pitbull calls you up and say, "What the fuck happened yesterday?" Like that type of thing, Like, get off your ass. So we're talking about New Zealand. New Zealand was the first country to introduce a minimum wage, the first to give women the right to vote. It ranks very highly in international measures, quality of life, human rights, and has low levels of perceived corruption. It sounds the exact opposite of the United States. How's it been coming from New Zealand? I mean, I'm a huge Peter Jackson fan. I read all of Tolkien. I'm a big Lord of the Rings guys. You could probably tell I'm kind of nerdy. So I've always been fascinated. I've never been to New Zealand, but it's always fascinated me. How's the culture shock of going from, somewhere in New Zealand? I don't know exactly where you live, but I'm assuming you had a bunch of Rhodesian Ridgebacks running around and all that shit, to being now somewhere on the lake in Charlotte. What's the culture shock been for you?
I'm definitely not on the lake in Charlotte.
Oh, you're not? Oh, you don't got the Denny Hamlin deal yet. Holy shit.
But yeah, it's been a massive change. But we're in a pretty good spot there in Martinsville. But yeah, just the American way of life's really different. Some bits are really cool, the convenience of everything. But yeah, some bits, like I've had to, it's been a struggle to get my visa and bank account and social security number and stuff like that.
Can I make a recommendation? All you have to do is walk across our southern border, and you just get them for you. See, that's me getting political, Spider. You told me not to do it, and I
don't want to get into that.
No, absolutely not. You shouldn't. I screw around though about you coming in and trying to take over U.S. sports. Infiltrating us is the word that I say every week. That I know that you're a New Zealand spy. Has there been any animosity? Like, apparently Josh Berry likes to put anybody in the wall who wasn't born in the United States. Did it again
I saw that last
with
night.
Daniel, and obviously had given Kobayashi all that he could take the week before. Has there been any kind of animosity, like, get this guy, what the hell? Like a Talladega Nights type thing. You're coming over here to run the Perrier car.
Everyone's been pretty cool, but I haven't raced Josh Berry yet. Yeah. Now you say that, he doesn't like foreigners. He's taking us all out. So I'll try and avoid him.
Yeah, we can start that. By the way, Josh Berry, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet and deserves a shot and all that stuff. Yeah. But he just hates foreigners. It's just a fact, I guess.
Speaking of Talladega Nights, one quote that you had when you came to America was that you told Bob Pockris that Talladega Nights you thought was a documentary and not as much a comedy. Now we see Kevin Harvick. I'm pretty sure news broke just recently this season that he actually moved into the house that Talladega Nights was filmed at. We see
there you go.
Dale Jr. Previously had an MTV Cribs that was like his own southern town. Like, what has been you mentioned coming to America and that transition, acclimating here has been difficult. What has been the most surprising thing that you found in your time? What has surprised you most about living in America?
I don't know about surprising, because I kind of just tried to be open to everything. But like when you go to the race, especially the Cup Sundays, like the fans and how into it they are and full on, it's really, really cool to see. So yeah, having a good time, embracing it so far. But
was there a track that had the rowdiest fans that you've been to yet?
Daytona Sunday. Monday the race ended up being on. Just watching that race, taking it all in. The anthem, the Jets, the Rock being there doing the command. It was pretty impressive how they do the sport here. It's really cool.
Are NASCAR drivers perceived to be less classy than supercar drivers, Formula One drivers? It's a different set of rules, right? The name of our show is Rubbin is Racing, so there is a lot of contact being made. I know you and Austin Hill had gotten into it a little bit last week, or week before last, rather.
Yep. So,
and how's that? Like, because that can be perceived as less gentlemanly, I should say, not classy. How's that been? Like, and are you learning now that you got to give it back a little bit, that rubbing truly is racing?
Yeah, rubbing is racing here. Every other series I've raced in, you get penalised for hitting each other or moving each other out of the way. So here it's kind of have at it, I guess they say. But after the race, it's not more confronting, but people just go and talk it out. And I went up to Austin, had a good chat about it, and moved on. You got to race the guy next week.
Sometimes it can be confrontational. You think it's the fact that you're 6'3"? and that you're probably good with your hands. He doesn't know if you're going to pull a fucking boomerang out. I don't know anything about Shane Van Gisbergen.
I don't have a boomerang. I'm not Australian.
I
but
apologize.
but yeah, everyone seems cool. But you see in NASCAR, there's almost something every week. Last week it was Kyle Busch and Christopher Bell. This week it was Truex and Hamlin. Like it's pretty intense, the sport. How there's always a controversy every week. It seems like it's pretty full on.
Speaking of controversy and Denny Hamlin, I don't know, you saw the race last night. There was a restart. A lot of NASCAR fans thought that Denny Hamlin might have jumped the restart.
Yeah.
What did you think? Do you think it was clean?
No, I think he jumped it, but I think when every restart I've been in, everyone's going before the zone. Like at the start of COTA, I went before the zone and jumped everyone, but they didn't do anything.
So fair game.
It just seems to be. I don't really understand the rules yet. So
I love that answer and the honesty from SVG.
I can tell you right now, too, this guy has got it made this season, right? Because he's like, I'm just trying it out. I'm trying to stay under the radar. A couple of top tens here and there, and then I jump up to the Cup Series. It really does seem like, especially coming in and getting that first win on your first race, it seems like that's the monkey off your back. Like, everyone now respects you right off of it. And you wouldn't have gotten that respect from a P2 or P3, I don't believe. Like, winning in Chicago when the fucking heaven, like, God didn't want you to race that weekend, right? He tried to throw everything he could at us. So I believe that even though you're a higher profile guy because of your story and whatnot, I don't think you do have as much pressure as people might think you do. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, you might be right. Okay. I guess I've shown I can do it and get the results, and no one expects me to go and win on an oval at Richmond or Martinsville on my first time. So that's kind of good. I can just settle in and do my thing, and getting a good result, people do get surprised about it. Like when I got third at Atlanta, people were pretty excited about that. So that's awesome. They don't expect me to come in and just dominate. So it allows me to be under the radar a bit, go at my own pace and with no pressure. But I'm sure when I come back here in July, there'll be people are expecting us to light it up again. So who knows? We'll see.
I mean, how is it dealing with those expectations? First of all, I guess, what were your expectations coming into the Chicago street race? And then now, how is it being cemented in NASCAR history after just one race? I mean, you're the first guy, pretty much, I guess the second guy, but the first guy to win in their debut. And then also, you already got stuff in NASCAR Hall of Fame. I saw they had a little display for you with your fire suit in there now. What is it like making history so early in your NASCAR tenure?
It's hard to put it into words. Being in the Hall of Fame. So before Chicago, I went in there and walked around trying to understand the sport, take it all in. So to now have a piece in there this early, that's pretty awesome. But the race itself, I had no expectations. I knew that my team's awesome and my car was going to be good enough to win. But just our preparation was good, and straight away in practice we were fast. You're like, we could be on for a good result here. And then with the mixed weather and all the carnage on Sunday, I guess we just didn't make any mistakes, stayed out of trouble. So we definitely probably exceeded a lot of people's expectations, including ours.
Where, with you being having a fire suit in the Hall of Fame and whatnot, as Spider said, where does that put you as far as a list of the most famous New Zealanders? Can I call you a Kiwi, or is that a bad name? Kiwi's cool.
No, Kiwi's a good thing. Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So as far as Kiwis, I'm going to yell some out. You tell me if you're more or less famous than these people. Lucy Lawless. Lucy Lawless. You're more fucking famous than Lucy Lawless.
No.
Xena, the Warrior Princess versus SVG.
She was big back in the day.
Back in the day. You're big right now. Steven Adams in the NBA. Who's bigger, you or him?
Oh, definitely him, physically and.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stay away from him. There's a young singer named Lorde. Do you know Lorde?
Yeah, I know her. Yeah, she's from Auckland, or north of Auckland. Yeah.
And you're.
Oh no, she's up there too.
You think so? Peter Jackson. Yeah. Peter Jackson, way above you. I hate to say that, but I'm going to answer
especially in your book. Yeah.
Yes.
Don't know.
Taika Waititi, the producer director, right? He
director.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say he's still.
No, I think it's
he's not. He's bigger here than he is at home, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Steven Adams and Lorde are the only ones that are questionable. The other ones are no.
What about Russell Crowe? Russell Crowe, probably one of the more famous Kiwi guys, but I mean, since Gladiator, he's done this, whereas you've passed him like this. I think you've got Russell Crowe now. Is that a fair thing to say?
I think he's still got me. Yeah.
Okay. Who chooses your schedule? Shane, I've always wondered, like, so you are going to do the full schedule for
Yep.
Xfinity, as you said, but you did COTA. You have both events at Talladega, which is going to blow your fucking mind. You got Charlotte on May 26th, the longest race on the schedule, the 600. You're the returning champ for the Chicago Street Race. You got Watkins Glen on September 15th and the Las Vegas Motor Speedway on October 20th. Who sets that for you as far as these are the ones that we think that we want you to either perform well at or at least get your feet wet at?
Yeah, so that's Justin Marks, the team owner, and
Okay.
Ty Norris, who runs Trackhouse. And I guess they set them about a month apart so they can get the car ready for each one. And they're just all different types of track, so I can build my experience and be ready for next year in Cup Series. So Talladega is going to be eye-opening. I did Daytona and the Xfinity, and watching the Cup race look completely different. Like they're all three wide the whole race and saving fuel and running into each other. So
Also, if you thought the fans at Daytona were nuts, Talladega's a whole different animal.
Oh,
so
my
I think
God.
we got Wendy's on our car for that one, and they
Awesome.
want to do a walk through the I forget what they call the area where all the fans are there, but
That's
should
the
be pretty
Boulevard.
wild.
Way.
The
Yeah,
Boulevard.
the
Boulevard.
Boulevard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Wendy's does their pop-up at the end of the Boulevard where they actually have a Wendy's, basically, right? Like, didn't
Yeah,
do
they had that
last
at
year?
Daytona too, so
Yeah,
it
so
was
they
pretty
do a
cool.
big
It's going to
deal.
be
So you're
interesting to
driving
see.
The Wendy's car, you're going to have that. That's going to be awesome to see at Talladega.
Yeah, it'd be good.
Good for you.
And-
It's a stud.
You mentioned coming back to Chicago. This was your first time back here, but I want to talk about going back to New Zealand. What was your first time going back home following that win in Chicago? Like, was it like? What was that reception like?
Yeah, so I raced back in Australia the week after, and just the reception from everyone, and my phone's never gone so crazy for doing well in a race. It was awesome. Some of the people I heard from, and going back home, and the people that watched it. It was early in the morning their time, and yeah, it was amazing the support I got.
So we see America kind of have F1 their push, and they're kind of F1's feeding off this international audience that they have now. Do you think that New Zealand now has a pocket of NASCAR audience that they're watching, supporting SVG week in and week out?
Yeah, it's on TV there now. It wasn't there last year, so it's really cool the support I'm getting. People are getting up early to watch the races and read all the support from people. It's really cool. And it was the same when Marcus Ambrose came and raced here in NASCAR. The support he got from home was great. And you see it in IndyCar too with Scott Dixon and Scott McLaughlin,
Yep.
like the support they get. Us Kiwis, they cheer for their own, and it's pretty special to get that, yeah.
Dude Wipes 250. That's this Saturday. It's going to go off at 7:30 down in Martinsville. Spider and I will be boots on the ground with Frank the Tank and a couple other people in tow. First off, have you ever used a Dude Wipe? I'm assuming, I don't know how big they are. Maybe they gave them out to the Anzac boys at some point. But are you familiar with Dude Wipes?
I am not. No, I've seen it on one of the cars I race against, but that's about it.
All right, it's a very refreshing way to wipe your ass. So we're going to go down there. What's your first impression, your primary impression, because you haven't been there yet. What's the primary impression of Martinsville? What are you expecting? I am going to throw you an invite right after you're done answering this question, but what are you thinking going into Martinsville?
It looks like an excuse for a demolition derby, the race I watched there. Especially, this race looks calmer, but the playoff race at the end of the year just looks like carnage. So, but yeah, it's a track that it should be more suited to me with the braking and tight corners, bit of technique. So I should be okay there. But yeah, it looks like it's an excuse to get into a crash.
They're famous for their hot dogs. They're Martinsville hot dogs. They're dyed red almost. They're a little bit off-putting when you first see them. If you feel like it, I will be having a dozen or so of them while I'm down there. I would be honored.
Maybe after the race.
Yes, definitely after the race. That's going to be
Yep.
It's going to be a tough couple of 100 miles if you put one of those in your belly. But if you were so inclined to get a little bit of the American culture, Spider and I and Frank the Tank would like to introduce you to that. Is that fair to say, Spider?
Yeah, open invite to have a Martinsville hot dog with
Yeah,
us. That was
I'll have one after with you.
Yeah,
Nothing says
absolutely.
welcome to America like a hot dog.
Yeah, and then that's where the Dude Wipes come in. Because
Oh.
about an hour after that Martinsville hot dog, you're going to, fucking Dude Wipe's going to look like the flag of Japan. All right, so we're going to wrap this up, if that's okay with you, Spider.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate you giving us some time and continued success.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we wish you nothing but happy health and wealthiness, or whatever the hell it is, going forward. We look forward to seeing what you're going to do back in Chicago, particularly in July. And again, make sure you tune in this weekend and watch him at the Dude Wipes 250. It was an absolute pleasure. You can't spell savage without SVG. Put that on a fucking T-shirt and give me 20%. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
That's not bad.
Yeah. All right. So Spider, what's your take on Shane? What's your take on the guy? Good guy, bad guy? You think any of my jokes landed, or you think a lot of them just kind of annoyed him?
I think he was a little bit out of his element, but understandably so. I couldn't imagine moving from New Zealand and coming to Chicago. And as he said, he was very not used to all the big buildings and the urban lifestyle. And not only coming to America, coming to the United States, now NASCAR, seeing all the crazy fans at Daytona, which, by the way, he's in for it when he goes to Talladega. But add that to coming to a Barstool office, which is probably one of the least traditional workplaces. Like, his whole idea of what America is probably so skewed, and it was very interesting getting a little piece of that from him. So I enjoyed it. Thanks so much to Shane and Trackhouse for coming by.
It annoyed me a little bit. Didn't you think we get a little bit more out of You Can't Spell Savage without SVG?
I like
thought I was
that.
giving him pure gold.
No, I think he's just thinks that's like a stupid American thing.
Well, that's insulting to me, Quicks. So I don't know. Does that put him on my shit list? Am I now rooting against the guy who took time out to come and hang out with us in Chicago? What am I going to do with that? Do I go to Stan Van Gundy and see if he'll fucking use it? Honest to God.
Yeah, it works for him.
Yeah, I don't know. So, but I appreciate him coming in. Obviously, we all do. So it was good, and we wish him best of luck. Can't wait to see him in Chicago and in a bunch of different tracks. Very open guy too. He's like, oh, you know, I'm gonna race in Cup next year, so I'm just kind of learning how to go around in a circle and stuff. Yeah. Very, very chill dude. I liked him.
Yeah, I had to ask him if that was for sure confirmed or not. So it was good to get some clarity there.
So here's the playoff standings, right? We're going to talk a little bit about Martinsville because that's where we're heading this weekend. So we're 7 races into a 26 regular season race. So you have all the winners up top, obviously, with Hamlin, Byron, Larson, Bell, Suarez. And then Truex is still the point leader with 270 points. Ty Gibbs is still on his heels. Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott still in the top 10. Ross Chastain. Then outside of top 10, you have Reddick, Bowman, Buescher, Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, and Brad Keselowski just hanging on to that 16th spot. We got a full lineup this weekend. A lot of racing for you guys to watch. Friday's Trucks is the Long John Silver's 200. Starts at 7:30 p.m. Friday on FS1. And our boy Jack Wood will be in it. He'll be wheeling the 91 Chevy. So we'll hope to get to him maybe on Friday night if we can get to the track. And then Saturday, Xfinity is the Dude Wipes 250. It's also starting at 7:30 p.m., also on FS1. And then Sunday, 3 p.m. on FS1 is the Cookout 400. My favorite takeout place in the whole country's Cookouts. Cookout 400. Stage is going to be 80 laps at 180 and then checkered waves at 400. Martinsville Speedway, 0.526 miles in length, which is the shortest track on the NASCAR Cup Series circuit. You remember the winner of this race and other NASCAR races at Martinsville receives a grandfather clock. That's been happening since 1964. And last year's winner was Kyle Larson. But Denny has won there 3 times, and Brad and Martin Truex have both won there twice. I'm excited. I mean, I'm always excited to go to new tracks. I do want to try a Martinsville dog. I will mention to you guys again, Spider and I are going to be boots on the ground in Martinsville this weekend, along with Frank the Tank. So we're going to be walking the track. Spider, how's this going to work on Saturday? Are other people who are going to be there? We're walking, I think, at 2 p.m.
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea.
Yeah, neither do I.
Stay tuned to the Rubbin is Racing socials. If that's something we can take people with us for and invite,
right,
and it's going to be open to the public, we will absolutely invite everyone to join us. Yeah, well, I don't really know, to be honest. I wish I had an answer for you, Large.
I'll tell you what I fully expect is that we're going to be firmly in row 2. We are not front row players in this walk. Denny's going to be P2. And sitting on the pole is going to be Frank the Tank. So those two guys are going to do their thing, walking around the track at least once with me and Spider kind of tagging along. And then Frank is going to stay, I think, at least for the Xfinity race for the Dude Wipes 250. And then it remains to be seen if he stays there for Sunday's race. But me and Spider will be there throughout. So we're looking forward to seeing anybody who wants to hang out. So with that, let's make some picks. And Kicking the Tires brought to you by DraftKings. The thrill and excitement of March Mania is here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps, is giving new customers a shot to turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets with any college basketball bet. North Carolina listeners, don't forget, DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in your state, and everybody else, don't forget, we are not giving gambling advice. We're just betting on these these races to have fun, and I'm sure that, Quiggs is betting all over college basketball just to have fun, but if you follow us, you're fucking dope. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code Rubbin. New customers can get $5 to get $150 instantly in bonus bets only at DraftKings Sportsbook with the code Rubbin. The crown is yours. Who do you guys like this week? Who wants to go first? This is one of those ones where, again, we're picking on Tuesday, so a lot of these lines just dropped. So, and they're going to change quite a bit, I'm assuming, by the time race runs around. But you guys got anybody that you're looking at? Or
Quiggs, why don't you start? I'm still over here. Sorry, I'm so distracted.
Spider, you're going to play cleanup. We'll go Quiggs first, then me, then you. Is that cool?
Yep. I like that. Also, going back to the Martinsville, your trip.
Yeah.
That text I sent, isn't that the craziest thing ever, that Frank isn't sure if he's going to do a hot dog review there?
Yeah. And the thing is he doesn't do any flavor, any toppings. It's one of his things. So the Martinsville dog, which I'm going to do. I just started a new thing on TikTok. It started today. It's called You Got to Try This. And they're going to run it on the main page. And it's going to be all New York dishes that I try, minute 30 seconds, real kind of flash through so people can, instead of asking me, what should I try when I come to New York, I'm going to let you know. And I'm going to do one in Martinsville while I'm there. I'm going to review the Martinsville dog, which is coleslaw, onions, and chili. Frank's thing is raw dogging. I mean, that's his bread and butter. And I don't think he's doing. I'm going to try and make that change. I'm going to try. To get him
you have to if anybody at the track knows Frank the Tank, the first question they're going to ask is have you had a hot dog yet?
Yeah.
You can't go to Martinsville. You can get it plain, I'm sure. He has to.
Oh, no, 100% you can. I just think he's big timing us, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. He also probably doesn't know how iconic it is, but you guys have to make sure that he does a hot dog review there. Yeah. Okay, but my picks. So I don't know what to do. I keep losing, so I'm going with things that I don't normally take. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go with Joey Logano, top 3. Ryan Blaney, top 3. I think in the last 4 races, they've had 3 top 5s each, so they're always up there. So Joey Logano, top 3s plus 350. Ryan Blaney, top 3s plus 230. And then I went to group betting, which I never do.
Never.
And the group D includes Kyle Busch, Noah Gragson, Ryan Preece, and Daniel Suarez. And Daniel Suarez is plus 750. I don't think he's necessarily the best driver out of that group, but everyone in that group has a chance of really struggling and just having a bad day.
Yeah.
I think Suarez could finish P16 and win that group.
That's the longest odds, and so it's Group A, B, C, and D. There is only 4 groups, and out of the 16 drivers in all those stuff, Daniel is the longest odds by a factor of 2. The longest odds outside of him are Bowman and Keselowski in other groups. So that's. I mean, I kind of like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It jumps out at me. There might be a reason that I aren't thinking of, and he may be historically bad here and might finish way in the back. But at those odds, I'm willing to risk it with those guys that he's going up against. And then outright winner, no real reasoning, just maybe comes out of nowhere, gets his win, Chase Elliott.
Really?
I think this might be the week, because I don't think it'll be the week. I don't know. I'm going with things that I don't even think are going to hit, because the things I do think that are going to hit aren't working. So those are my plays for this week.
I think I'm going to do Ryan Blaney top 4 to plus 220.
Okay.
Which I don't think is that tough, of a do for him. With that being said, I'm going to take Christopher Bell as a top 3 finish at plus 250. And I think just out of respect for what he's doing with Frank the Tank, I'm going to go Denny on back-to-back, and I'm going to take him as a winner, which is chalky, I know, but we're going to be spending a lot of time with him. I'm going to be wearing my jersey, by the way. Be wearing the Denny jersey on the and a Frank the Tank T-shirt underneath it. So I'm going to be that guy at the concert with the band shirt on. So I'm going to take Denny Hamlin to win at plus 450. I'm going to take Chris Bell at top 3 at plus 250, and I'm going to take Ryan Blaney top 4 at plus 220. Those are my 3. What do you got, Spider?
I love your logic, Large, and I'm inclined to trail with Denny just for that simple reason that he's been good to me. He's won me last week, and we're going to obviously be
He's been good to me.
I can't help myself. And obviously we're going to be spending a lot of time with him. I'm not going to do that, however. I'm going to go a little bit chalky just behind him and go Larson, who's 5.5 to 1. But the other guys, I've been intrigued by a lot of guys, and I'm not necessarily adding these guys to my card right now. Aside from this one play that I am, you can lock this in right now. Chris Buescher, top 10, minus 125. Chris Buescher pretty much finishes like 8th or 9th at every single track. Doesn't matter if it's Coda or an oval track. When I just scrub the standings here on Google, it always looks like I can find his name consistently there. I'm going to trust that logic. I'm going to keep rocking with him. He's a great driver. He's won here as recently as last year. So I would love to see him finish within the top 10. I think that's very obtainable for him. And RFK's been looking relatively good. So, yeah, I'm on Larson. I'm on Chris Buescher, top 10. I'm probably going to add a couple other things to my card, but for right now, still in the lab. Nothing is popping out at me. I do think it's interesting. You can fade both Toyota. If you want to fade, if you can get Ford and Chevy for plus money. Help me out. Help me say that, Quiggs. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, if you can take both of those and you'll still profit if either of them wins.
Right. So all you would just be rooting against Toyota at that point, which is probably a bad bet given that we love Denny, and Truex is not far behind him in terms of odds this week. So the Toyota should show up here, but I just thought that was unique.
I'm going to point out something that I didn't point out in the overs was Kyle Larson, right? Like, so Kyle Larson and then
I'm glad you did, Large, because I wanted to mention that too.
With the Xfinity, way that he won the Xfinity race when Shane and Austin Hill started. Oh, by the way, did you see what I sent you guys? Austin Hill tweeted out a like Billy Crystal handing a Kleenex, like the Crybaby Award, and he said, "Martin, this is yours for the week." Which I know he was trying to be just kind of funny, wasn't being overly, I don't know, insulting with it. But still, that was a wild thing, to see. But so other than Austin Hill, who, again, we're trying to find somebody who's an Austin Hill fan. Drop me a line just because you don't see too many of them. Stuff's not flying off the hauler. We should have him on the show. But Kyle Larson was such a class act with Bubba. I love that back and forth that he had. And he was so, like, almost thankful that, Karma had given him, a top 5 finish, even though of the way that the race had ended and the way that he had taken advantage in the Xfinity, that I'm having a tough time not betting him also, Spider, but either way. So I just wanted to mention that. What did you get? You just got something in the mail, didn't you?
I got one more over, and that's the great folks.
Because mine hasn't come yet.
That's the great folks at Trackhouse.
Yeah.
They sent us so much swag. Ross Chastain hoodie, Trackhouse tee. I didn't open this stuff, but the design. You know what? Fuck it.
It's the Daniel's Amigos shirt.
Stand by for a live unboxing. Oh shit! But
I hope you're watching this on Rumble because you're not getting it all. Oh, that's fly.
Literally has my name on it. So shout out to them for the custom. We got the Busch Light beer car merch, which is gonna be here. Why don't you pop that one open, Quigs?
Yeah, I'll do the work.
And then I got this sweet jacket.
What?
Yeah, the jacket's incredible.
It's like Christmas came early. So, yeah, massive over on the folks at Trackhouse. Fuck. You know what? I'm gonna have to add some Trackhouse plays.
You're gonna have to
to
save it for the final ticket.
Yeah, Sunday. Stay tuned. I will have a Trackhouse play on my card. But yeah, that's the picks for this weekend. Again, thank you to Trackhouse.
Listen, I can't express to you guys enough to like and follow the podcast, but also to follow us on social media, because these guys do a great job week in and week out, Moonhead and Quigs. So I think that it's value added, probably the most value added you can get from this thing until we start to throw out some fire merch ourselves. But that's it for Rubbin is Racing. Again, if you guys are down in Martinsville, look for us. We're going to have some more details on, we'll put it up on a green screen next week. That's why I put this up behind me now. We're going to have some details on the tailgate that we're going to be doing on Saturday in Talladega in a couple of weeks with Brianna and Grace. I got to give Brianna an over, too. She hooked my son up. I know people who watch NASCAR probably know a lot about Zach Bryan, but my son loves Zach Bryan. And Annie took him to the concert, and Brianna found out about it. She was like, let's get him backstage. And for people who've never met Zach Bryan and are a fan of him, I can tell you firsthand, this guy is a fucking gem.
Yep.
So I couldn't be more impressed with both of those young people, him and Brianna. So shout out to them on a personal note. Right, Spot? I mean, it was...
Yeah, you keep stealing my overs. First, I neglected Larson with his incredible comeback, and then also Zach Bryan. He did the same thing for me at the show when he came to Chicago. So
did he really?
Both Bree and Zach are great people, and continued success to both of them.
Yeah, that's cool. All righty, guys. So that was Rubbin is Racing. We'll see you guys in Martinsville this weekend if you're there, and if not, we'll see you next week.
Find us at the track. We'll see you there.